Okay, so do I want to wear my glasses or no? Look at that double chin. See that double chin? Mm, it's awful, isn't it? Okay. Well, anyway, I think I'm gonna take these glasses off and just talk like this. Okay. All right. So hi. I know it took me a while. Um. So I wanted to talk today. I'm sitting around this morning, and I was gonna try to like write something, cause I don't know, like 4 years ago, I was just pumping out a lot of poetry and I don't know, some stories. I was writing some stories, but mostly I was trying to learn like 4 years ago in my writing. I was trying to learn to focus on details because I don't usually, I'm mostly focused in my writing. I guess, I mean, I'm sure there's other writers that do this, but I've always been more of a dialogue writer. I focus on the things that people say instead of the things that are actually in the setting. And I did it 4 years ago. I worked on it. I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on the details. The details of the setting. What's in the field, what's in the room, that kind of thing. And I'm focusing on the details and to describe the details. Well, that's just a writing thing, an exercise or whatever. But um, this morning, yeah, it's like almost 11 o'clock, and I've been sitting here, doing my thing, basically having my coffee and my cigarette and thinking about how much money I have left for the month and what I'm supposed to do with myself. I've been in this strange existential void since I turned 50, and I'm going to be 54 in April, and it's been 4 years back in Florida, and a lot has happened, and then again, I could say not much has happened, which is a weird thing because I think that I'm assuming most people feel that way. If they look at their past 4 years, they'll go, "Wow, a lot happened," but then again, not that much happened. It's a weird feeling. So, you know, I was just thinking about all the places that I had been. I love to travel. I really do. I really, really enjoy traveling. And this morning I was thinking about, if I had the money to go on a trip, a nice trip, not just, you know, hop on a bus, Gus, but just a nice trip. If I had the money, where would I go? And I started thinking about one of my aunts who had gone to Puerto Rico and San Juan, and she brought home, pictures that I looked at, and it looked so nice. And I had seen other people like my mom and stuff go to Jamaica and Bahamas and islands like that. But for some reason, there was something really interesting about Puerto Rico that always stuck in my mind. So I went online and I was looking, and Puerto Rico got hit by hurricanes. So some areas of Puerto Rico are still in recovery, but when I looked at one of the virtual tours of San Juan from a traveler, it wasn't what I thought it was. It it wasn't what I thought it was at all. It looked very congested, and so I kind of got turned off of the idea of a San Juan, Puerto Rico, vacation because the virtual tour kind of put me off. It reminded me of places that I had already been that I wasn't really that impressed with after a while. So maybe I'm not going to go to Puerto Rico. But anyway, I mean, I guess the idea is that when I looked at the virtual tour, and maybe it's just one piece that this traveler was showing, but when I looked at that one piece that he was showing, I basically started thinking about Miami, and I've been to Miami. I mean, been there, done that. If Puerto Rico is just like the island of Miami, do I really want to spend all that money just to go when I can I can go to Miami. I can drive to Miami if I want to drive to Miami. I don't need to go to Puerto Rico. So, never mind. Anyway, okay, I'm building all this up. Like, what am I talking about traveling in Puerto Rico? And what does that have to do with anything? Why am I blah, blah, blah about this? Well, it has to do with the writing thing too, the details. Details. I'm thinking about places that I've been, places where I've lived, and places that I've just visited or stayed as a guest. And it's part of my, second half of life's attitude or philosophy because sometimes I'm a real bitch, I complain a lot. I do. I bitch. And people are like, "What is wrong with me? What is wrong with you?" They'll say like, You have everything you need. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And it's because I'm a perfectionist. I know I don't seem like that. I don't. Some people think I'm just crazy or savage but the bottom line is I was born a perfectionist and I've always been a perfectionist. And um, when I don't get things right, when I make mistakes, or when things don't look perfect, I get crunchy. I get upset. I mean, and I bitch a lot because I'm mad at myself or I'm mad at the circumstance for it not being perfect. And it doesn't matter how good it is. It's just this nagging, terrible thing about me that I want perfection. Even if it's not achievable, I'll still bitch. But that doesn't mean, and this is the clarification that I want to present into my video of anybody who ever called themselves a friend or somebody who showed interest in me. I I'm not as, you know, unhappy or mean or crunchy or pissed off as I, you know, profess or seem to be. I It's just I'm always internally striving for perfection, and it's like this unachievable ideal that maybe it can never be achieved. But that's why I bitch so much. I just bitch and bitch and bitch because I want things to be perfect. Um, I know I'm not the only one, but I'm just explaining it. Anyway, it has to do with details. Um, Like, have you ever put on a shirt and you love the way the shirt looks, but then all of a sudden there's like a tag on the back or there's like some ruffles or something and it's just making you feel weird and you just like want to rip the shirt to smithereens and take it off right away because even though you love the way the shirt looks, it was making you feel a certain way? That's sort of what I mean. See, it's like, you know, on the surface it looks right, but then when you're feeling it, it doesn't feel right. Okay. Okay. All right. So let me get to this. The main subject of this video is about, I don't know, it looks like the Grim Reaper's behind me, doesn't it? Oh, there. No. um, that's it. I just could have tried. It's behind. Yeah. It looks like the Grim Reaper. Should I give him a kiss? Hi, Grim Reaper. It looks like the Grim Reaper, doesn't it? Anyway. Okay. Yeah, maybe he's my best friend. Who knows? Yeah, good guy. Okay. Um. Anyway, my point is, I want to talk about the places because if I want to write this out and I don't have it, it's not germinated, it's not ready for me to write it into words. So I just thought if I talked and talked and talked, because I have nobody to talk to, and I just figured if I blah, 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 talk, then maybe I would get closer to the actual penmanship of what I want to talk about, these details that I want to talk about of the places that I've seen. And so I'm just gonna do this as like a quick talking exercise, like the top three that come to mind for the best and worst of what I've seen. Now, this is not going to be absolutely accurate because I'm just doing this real quick from whatever memory's going to come up, okay? But I mean, there's a bunch in there, and this is probably why I'm having a hard time penning it, because I don't know where to start and then trying to remember the details. Okay, let's start with one of the worst because this one's been nagging at me. One of the worst places that I ever stayed uh, was this place. I don't even know what to call it. It was a place in Plainsfield, New Jersey. Um, it was one of the worst. I mean, not the absolute. Maybe it wasn't the absolute worst, but it's definitely on my top 5 or top 10 list of worst places I ever stayed. And it's not a hotel, but I make jokes and call it Hotel California. I just call it that because I don't think that memory will ever leave my mind. Um, why was it so bad? What was so bad about it? Well, most of the people that were there had just survived some kind of trauma of homelessness, some type of homeless situation, and they got into this. It was like a program type of building that helped people get back on their feet. But it was really rough because how they did it was, I mean, if you had any money, they pretty much took most of your money to stay there, and if you didn't, have any money, then you know, it was a really rough situation that they mostly had. You had a roommate it was like a imagine an old rundown hotel that had become some kind of helpful shelter building for getting people off the street. And I had a roommate. We had these two twin beds in the room, and we had to share a bathroom. There was a bathroom it was connected between our room and another room that had two twin beds and two people in that room. And the bathroom, I'll start with the details of the bathroom. Okay, so this is in New Jersey. So in the wintertime, in New Jersey, it gets very cold. And the water was hot some of the bathrooms, but not all of the bathrooms. So if you wanted to get a hot shower, uh, you had to find the bathroom that had some hot water running through those pipes, because for some reason some of the bathrooms weren't getting hot water. And the bathroom that was located between the two rooms where I was staying did not have the hot water. So uh, I remember sitting on the toilet and looking at the old tub that was in that bathroom. It was old. It was an old, old building. And it had one of those old porcelain tubs, like the ones that have those like claw feet or whatever they call them. I don't know all the proper terminology. This is why it's so hard for me to write these details. But I know it was one of those old, old porcelain tubs with like the claw feet, and it had the old pipes. You could tell they were old. Some of it just because of the sounds that it made, like the squeaky sound, or because of you could see some rust or tarnish type on the pipes. um but it's a weird memory when you remember a place like where you wanted to take a hot shower and you couldn't because the water was cold, and it was cold. You're already wearing a jacket because there's not you're cold. It's winter time in New Jersey. You're cold, and so you go to take a hot shower and you turn the knob, and you put your hand to feel the hot water, and there's no hot water. It's ice cold, and there's no way you're not gonna take your jacket and clothes off and get in that ice cold water because you're already cold. So you turn it off and you brush your teeth and you go to the bathroom and you go back to your bed, and then you're looking around this really old room, and it has really old floors, um, that just you don't know if they're clean or if they're dirty. You don't know. You can't tell because they're sort of dark. They're sort of this dark grayish beige brown color that you don't know if it's clean or not. Is it dust? You can't tell if it's dust. Or is it grime? You can't tell if it's grime. You don't know if it's dirt. You don't know it. You borrow a broom and sweep, and it doesn't look like you've done anything. And so and that's the whole feeling of the room. Like the walls are the same way, like dingy. It's very dingy looking. It's like and it's depressing. And you're there and you're already depressed because you're there because you just survived some kind of homeless episode. So, and then you have this roommate and you want to be friends. You don't want to piss off the roommate because you're both, surviving. And but you don't want to know if you should get too close. You don't know if you should talk. You don't know if you should not talk. You don't know what to do, really. It's like you want harmony and some peace because you just, again, survived a homeless episode, and you're just glad to have a bed and a toilet and a roof over your head for right now. So you don't want to, mess anything up with stupid conversation or, you know, you don't know this person. So you don't really know how to make it, you know, comfortable and nice. Okay, and then they had this like really old TV that was on top of this dresser thing, and it had this weird like little sign on it that said if you wanted to order TV, you had to pay for the TV, I guess, because of some kind of cable package that ran through the building. Um, for so it was like whatever you were paying to stay there, if you had to add another 20 or 30 bucks to that if you wanted to watch television. Which, I guess, I mean, if you have the money, that doesn't seem like much. But at the time, I didn't have much money, and um, I it was a lot to me at the time. So I chose not to get television. I think I still had my cell phone, and I was just using my cell phone for whatever entertainment I could find on my cell phone. Um, okay, so we talked about this old bathroom with squeaky pipes and cold water. I talked about uh, the dingy floor and the dingy walls with the TV that wouldn't turn on unless you paid extra for it. And then, oh, let's talk about the bed. Okay, so the bed was, they were these twin beds, and they were like cots, really, more than a mattress. I mean, it looked like a mattress, but it felt like a cot. It was hard, and it was. I think I feel like I remember maybe there was plastic on it. I think there was plastic on it so that it wouldn't have bugs from various people, moving in and out or whatever. It had plastic on it, so when you were sleeping, you could hear the plastic like every time you move, you hear that plastic crunchiness on it, and you had to have your own sheets and blankets. And I remember I had sheets and blankets and a jacket and everything, so I was okay with that. There was a window, but it was behind the television, so we really couldn't see out of the window. Um, that was pretty much the room, just this dingy, old smelling boring room with a roommate that I didn't know. Uh, and it was small. I mean, there was enough room to walk in and, get to your bed or get to the closet, but it pretty much was very small. Not a lot of space. So you didn't want to really hang out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I didn't. I mean, when I say you, I mean me, people. The feeling of the feeling. Uh, it was like I didn't want to hang out in that room, so I'd go downstairs, and I don't know what floor I was on. I think I was on the fourth or fifth floor, and sometimes I was in pretty good shape. I was in pretty good health at that time, so I could walk up the stairs or walk down the stairs if I was inclined to do so. But sometimes you could take the elevator. It was a very small elevator. I think that I think that if four people were in it, that was pretty snug. Maybe if a fifth person snuck in, it was tight. It was tight with five people in that elevator, and four people were already uncomfortable. It was a very small elevator, and it took a long time. I don't know how many floors the building actually had. I want to say it had, I don't know, 12 or 15 floors or something like that. I don't think it had more than 15 floors, but this little one, they only had one little elevator that could transport four people, if you want to call it, 3 people comfortably, 4 people okay, 5 people uncomfortably, and most of the time there was 5 people trying because that was the only elevator. So you're scrunched into this tiny elevator that's very old with 5 people, sardined in, going up and down very slowly. Okay, so there was that. And then they had offered breakfast, lunch, and dinner to the residents there. Wasn't much. It was kind of like a soup kitchen type situation. And, you weren't required to go or whatever, but if you wanted to, or if you were hungry, you could go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And it was just like, it reminded me of just your basic, like a soup kitchen that you'd see at a church. It was basically like that. Um, and and then you would go outside. If you went outside, you walk out of the building. You were basically on a city sidewalk, and there wasn't really anywhere to go. Um, I mean, it was in Plainsfield, New Jersey. Down about 2 blocks away, there was a church, which I was gonna start going to. About another 2 blocks away, there was a library, which I went to almost every day because I didn't have nowhere else to go. And besides that, there was a couple of tables, or like picnic tables, where people would sit and smoke a cigarette and chat. But there weren't a lot of people out there in the cold, obviously. So it was weather permitting. And that was it. Besides that, it was just sidewalk, 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 and commercial stuff, and then more houses and buildings. That was it. So it was a very, very depressing place to try to get yourself on your feet again. It was a very, very depressing place to be. Okay, that was one on the worst list. I should do one that's on the best list, but just putting myself back there for the time that it took to describe what I focused on, what as details, and what there's more. But it's kind of draining to put myself back there, even if it is just a memory. I'll tell you one more thing. There was a basement. I just remembered that there was a basement where we would go sometimes, and I guess people did their laundry down there, I think. But it was this old piano. It was an old piano. It was like old, very old, and it was broken, but nobody threw it out. And you could still like touch and, strike one of the keys, and some of the keys would still play the note. But I would say almost half of the keys were damaged, and it was kind of an ugly thing to look at, this old piano. But when I would look at that piano, I would see the people, me and those people that were there. It was like that piano was sort of symbolic of us, like just broken and old and not wanted, but just lingering, still able to play a few notes, but not really worth anything. Oh, yeah, details. Details are weird.